So when you are experiencing strong emotions like anger, sadness, or anxiety, do you find it difficult to clearly express what is really important to you that is contributing to those emotions arising? Do you also struggle to communicate like what it is that you want to be different, perhaps what it is that you want someone else to change about their behavior, or for behavior to change more broadly in our society? So if that's you and you get frustrated with yourself when that happens, and you'd like to learn some methods that might help you speak more clearly so you can be a force for good in the world, then this is the video for you. My name is Ari Anisha. I'm a public speaking coach, ordained Buddhist, and like many people, I've been well, my experience of Jason Ardo dying and the situation around it is mainly of sadness. Actually, I haven't experienced so much anger. I have some, but it has mainly been around sadness. But I completely understand why a whole bunch of other people are experiencing anger right now. I can really get that. And I've had other experiences in my life when anger has definitely been the main emotion that's come up. Other times it's been anxiety. And I've often found it difficult to articulate myself, or even if I'm passionate about something, any strong emotion for me really can get in the way of me saying what it is that I really think. It kind of sort of feels like it gets stuck in my throat somewhere. And I've had those challenges for years. I remember being the first student from my school to go to Cambridge and having ideas I wanted to express in a supervision or with friends, but just not knowing or not being able to kind of articulate it. It was almost like I could feel that I wanted to say something, but I couldn't, almost couldn't access the words. Now I know that for me, having ADHD, undiagnosed ADHD at the time, contributed to that. But I think some of it is also, just around having the kind of micro skills that are needed to feel emotions, let them kind of move through your body, to have them point to what's value, what's important, what lessons you think you and other people need to learn, and to move from that kind of inner world into actually communicating and being in helpful dialogue. And I by no means got that sorted at all. There's still plenty of things that I find very, very difficult, but these are some of the tools that I've had at my fingertips over the years. Definitely there's a whole bunch of things that have got better. It's more now that it's just like if the emotions are very strong, actually, then I find it more challenging. But generally I definitely feel like it's easier for me to now express myself through those stronger emotions as best as I can. Not because I want to have a pop at people, but because, as I said, I think those emotions point to some truth that's underneath, and if we can kind of dive down and get to that truth and then find ways of communicating it helpfully, like what a kind of beautiful, courageous, healthier, happier, fairer, safer world we could all live in together. That's why we're doing this, not because we're particularly attached to our particular opinion about things. And I was going to record these videos at some point reasonably soon, because I'm running some free training in late September, which you're very welcome to if you care about making a difference in the world. But with Jason's very recent death, I thought, well, this might be helpful for you now. So I haven't overly prepared these. I've maybe spent about 10 minutes writing some notes. It might be that I do kind of a more polished version to begin with, but I just wanted to get something out there for you. I just want to acknowledge that there's so many inspirations and teachers who have helped me. I just really want to offer that up, that I definitely feel like I am able to do this because of everything else I've been given. And someone in particular that I want to point you towards is the work of Audre Lorde and her essay, The Transformation of Silence into Language and Action. It's in a book of essays and poems called Your Silence Will Not Protect You. And that quote, "Your silence will not protect you," is from that essay that I've just pointed out. I kind of inhaled that essay before my ordination in 2021. My friend Claude got me onto her. And there's so much about that essay that I really love. And there's a particular phrase, another phrase of hers, that says something like, "We can learn to work and speak when we are afraid in the same way we have learned to work and speak when we are tired." And I think you can replace afraid with any other emotional, strong emotion, like that's fear, like sadness, grieving, anger, rage. There's skills that we need to learn, that almost like sort of an emotional alchemy, if that's a language that works for you, to be able to then express ourselves, as I said, for the pursuit of goodness in the world too. So I like to break these skills down into kind of buckets. So there's feel, think, communicate. Not sure which way that's coming out. Feel, think, communicate. And they're all slightly different. They're all kind of connected. It's not like you just do one, then the other, then the other. But in some ways they can work sequentially. For example, if you were to have like a meeting coming up, and you wanted to talk about some of the things that have been happening recently, it might be that you go through some of these practices. But they're just kind of there more to draw on, almost like a kind of a menu to choose from when you want them. So maybe actually one thing before I describe them, I'll just say I think this is so important to be able to do this work for so many reasons, right? But one of them is, and this is what I get frustrated about, the less someone seems to care about something, the easier it seems for them to be able to kind of reason and articulate themselves, yeah, at least in my experience. Whereas the more I care about something, the harder it is for me to articulate myself and come across persuasively, and that really irritates the hell out of me. So maybe that's the same for you too. So this feel, think, communicate model, I'll just say a little bit about them, and then we'll have separate videos on all three, and I'll give a little bit of an introduction to each of them, and then some practical methods that you can use to explore those. And you're very welcome to comment below if you've got any questions, want anything clarified, want to share what's been helpful, or anything else that you think might be useful within these buckets. So yeah, the feel section is really about getting into a deeper connection with your emotions without being overwhelmed by them, yeah, and to seeking the truth that sits underneath those emotions. It's almost like if, when we're feeling overwhelmed, if it gets stuck here, yeah, and then we can't really communicate, it's like we've got to go almost deeper down into the body, get into our felt sensations as part of it, but then also explore, like, what is this emotion about, yeah, what's it trying to say? So it's this kind of like internal world, but there are also methods you can use to kind of externalize it that might be helpful. So it's not just about being introverted and on your own, yeah, and keeping all your feelings like neat and tidy to themselves. It might be that you need to explore them with other people, and we'll get into that. So let's feel. Then in the think section, this is when you're starting to move from this kind of more internal exploration into external communication. And there's a stage in the middle where we need to kind of bridge or move our attention between what we feel and think and what may or may not be helpful for communicating to the particular audience that we want to. And I'm drawing on sort of 15 years really of working in social and environmental impact. I've worked on all sorts of issues in my life, like violence against women in India, injustice and fuel poverty in South London, climate change, carbon emissions. Early in my career, I was a consultant for international businesses on things like preventable worker deaths and supply chains. I've worked with a whole different range of people, and in my experience, it's important to be able to really bear them in mind, to work out what is helpful, not just what is true or kind in our speech. Yeah, you might have a tendency towards truthfulness or kindness more in your speech. I'm very conflict averse, yeah, so the more I'm sort of personally involved in something, I tend to go towards kindness, but that's partly because I'm just avoiding getting into conflict with someone, whereas other people are on truth, and they're much better at like clearly communicating no's and boundaries when they need to. But really we want to think about, well, what is actually going to be helpful in this particular kind of communication, which means we need to kind of stand alongside our feelings, our emotions, and not be so blown about by them, so we can empathize with our audience and think what is helpful in this particular moment with that particular person or that particular group. And then in the communicate bucket, this is when we're thinking about but like tools, skills that are useful when you're in that active mode of communication, whether it's public speaking, having a chat to a colleague, writing an email or an article, whatever it is. Like in the moment when we're in that process, there are techniques I think help us keep checking back in with ourselves, in with our motive. What is it that we're trying to really do here? And really have integrity with our values and what we're trying to achieve. Yeah, because it's very easy, and again I speak from experience, I'm sure you find this too, but we can do the internal work, we can get really clear about what we want to say and what might be helpful, but then in the moment, like, something messy seems to start happening and it can all fall apart a little bit. And well, basically it's live communication, isn't it? Yeah, you're then also getting kind of feedback. I don't mean that like as in like negative feedback, but you're getting information back from the other person, the other people, about how they're responding as well to what you're saying and doing. So we almost need to, well, I was going to say stay on our toes. I treat communication really like a dance. So it's a contact sport, yes, but it's not necessarily one that needs to be aggressive. It can be strong, but there needs to maintain like active like communication, like two-way communication and connection between all partners, really. Yeah, I'm thinking about a bit of a background in doing some Latin American and ballroom dancing when I was younger. So there we go, that's what we're going to cover in the rest of these videos. There'll just be 3. There'll be a few techniques for each that you can try out. As I said, ask me questions, comments, and maybe I'll drop my email address below as well, so you can get in touch with me if you want to ask anything else. So there you go, thank you for being here. Yeah, just really thinking of everyone who has felt affected by what's happened with Jason, obviously thinking about his loved ones and family too. But I will see you in the next video so that we can really focus on being a force for goodness in the world with courage and integrity.